Welcome back to the channel. Urban Gardener DC here. My name is Chris. In this video, we're going to do a recap. It's been about 6 days. We started with a variety of tomatoes using this Jiffy Tray, right? And then we also did the same variety in my own seed cells. So, my seed tray, if you can see there, has very good growth. About 2/3 of them have already germinated. Trying to get you a good view without too much glare. But you can see they popped up, right? They're barely, probably 1/2 inch at most out of the soil. So those are doing great. What I will say with my tray, not having a cover on it like the Jiffy style, they did, after a day or two, I started to notice they did dry out a little bit. So I just used my little sprayer, kept the surface a little moist. I underwatered that first day, and about 2 or 3 days later, I did an underwatering. I just put a tray underneath it, kept that soil nice and moist, and kept that light right above it. And now for the Jiffy Tray. So the Jiffy Tray, if you see here, 11 out of the 12 germinated. 11 out of 12. So I'm impressed with that. I like that it's a nice little compact tray. It's only like 4 inches by 8 inches or so, maybe 9 inches. The issue with the Jiffy, not that it's a bad thing, is because it has this plastic dome that sits on top. The issue is that because with that dome on top, even if you put the light at the very top, it forces them to get very leggy. They're reaching so high, right? Because they have that greenhouse effect by having the dome on top. But if you have that light is almost 3 inches above the soil. So it forced them to be leggy. They're starting to flop over a little bit, but don't worry, we actually have a really quick fix for that. We're just going to take our regular cup system, solid cup on the bottom. This cup here has holes in the bottom of it. We underwater it here, place the plant down inside. So I already have some pre-mixed soil that I'll put in this cup. And then I'm going to measure the height of the tomato. I don't want to put too much dirt in here just yet. But I'll just grab one. This is, let me see, honeycomb. So the honeycomb one is great because these pods it's awesome to transplant because you can just pick the pods up. So if I place that pod in there right now and make it level, I have the very top of the plant just about where I want it, to be honest with you. That was actually a pretty good measurement. And now with tomatoes especially, you can do this without much fear of harming the plant. Because if you notice on the stem of a tomato, it has that fuzzy, furry looking coming off of the stem. That's actually part of the root system. So it's actually a great thing, because when you transplant tomatoes, you want to transplant them deep into the soil. So I'm just going to fill the rest of this cup up. Just being very careful. I actually use my finger to hold the stem of the plant back a little bit so that I can pour soil into it without fear of breaking that stem. And we're going to take a little bit of peat moss and put it across the top. I like to use peat moss. Actually, it's a great water barrier. I'm not sure about the nutrient level in peat moss, but it really maintains moisture really well. So now we have a nice new tomato in a brand new home. You saw the size of this pod in comparison to the cup. This cup is now going to allow that tomato root ball to expand, right? And with these peat pods, what you'll notice is by peeling off a little bit of that pod, which I didn't show you there, you can actually free up the root system by peeling this off. I had already done it on the first one, so forgive me. Let me show you. I have another cup here, and let's fill this one up with some good soil. Almost the same way. And now, because you want to free up the root system, you don't want to leave, at least I don't leave this this pod shell, because you want those roots to expand within your container. So same thing, I'm just going to top this one off with some peat. Same way we just did. And get that in the cup there. Get it all mixed around. Take a little bit more. Alright. And now, as you see, the tomato that we just transplanted, we took off the outer lining. So now that tomato is sitting in the cup in a nice new happy home. I'm going to take the top one out. We're going to water it from the bottom, about that much. Pop it back in there, and it'll slowly absorb down. Well, it's actually going pretty fast. So as you see, that top cup is now lowering itself into the water, the soil and the roots. So it's going to absorb into the soil. Those tomato roots are going to go straight down looking for water. And I'll give you an update probably in about a week and let you know. I'll go ahead and continue to transplant the rest of these. So final result to the Jiffy pot to your home pot mixture. Jiffy pot did extremely well. I mean, look at it. Other than the plants getting a little leggy, Jiffy pot did pretty good. My at-home seed tray did extremely well as well. It didn't germinate quite as many in the time frame, but it didn't have that greenhouse effect. It didn't have the dome over top of it. So it did, as I mentioned, it did start to dry out, and I kept watering a little bit every couple days. Just lightly across the surface, I would just spray. But the end result with the Jiffy, because of that dome and the fact that you have to keep the light source almost 3 inches above, it forced those tomatoes to get leggy and go searching for light, just because that light was so far above it. With this tray, other than the moisture issue, you can put the light source almost right on top of it, and that's why these are likely going to have a much better root system, because they didn't bolt, they didn't take off like the Jiffy ones. But I think in a fair assessment, I like the compactness of using these Jiffy pods. Maybe I love being able to germinate something this small. So you could probably, I see that they sell the pods like as a refill, so you can just buy the pod without the tray and the dome and all that. So I'm actually pretty impressed with the pods. I might use these in the future and then just put them in a larger tray using the pods, but then using a system like this where you can get that light source right on top of them. So that's it for this one. Transplanting leggy tomatoes is very simple. They're delicate. Be careful with them. But as you see, just some plastic cups and a little bit of soil, you can solve the issue of that leggy tomato, and now that root system is going to grow out along the stem into the soil, and it's going to end up being, hopefully, another healthy tomato just like this one. So, guys, I appreciate you tuning in, watching the content. I hope this brings value to your gardening, whether you're in an urban environment like I am with a community garden, or if you're on the balcony in your apartment building. You can do all of this really, really simply at home, in your kitchen, in your garage, anywhere, right? So do me a favor, smash that like button. If you wouldn't mind, subscribe to the content. I'm trying to bring new information on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. And, to help grow this channel, I need support from you guys. I also recommend throw in messages down in the comments. I love to communicate with you all, find out some of your remedies. I actually had a couple great suggestions from people in the last couple weeks, and I'm going to do videos, and I'm going to do what they're doing, and I'm going to see how it works for me. All right, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys on the next one.